In the centre of the vase, which is also filled with mantras, that was the last thing that was filled. We filled that with mantras. Is what's in a way the central pillar of the stupa, which is the Sokshing, the tree of life, and the symbolism around that is like volumes in itself, in fact. And some of you were lucky enough to see it before it went into the stupa. Beautiful obelisk, painted red with gold writing. And eventually what we did was to hollow out the centre of it and put into it the golden stupa that Khenpo Sutin Gyaltsen had given us earlier in the year. Because last time I went to see him, that's my main teacher, who also is behind this stupa, as he was leaving, I was sad because I wanted him to come and do the consecration because I have such a good relationship with him. But he said, just as I was leaving, he said, a stupa only needs to be this big. And he said this several times. And it took me all day to work out the significance of that. If it only needs to be that big, he could consecrate it and we could bring it and put it in our stupa. And he agreed. So he did consecrate it, and it's now had very special relics put in it, and it's right there in the centre, radiating out from this sort of stupa within a stupa within a stupa. So it feels very special to us in the Awakened Heart Sangha, for whom Khenpo Sutin Gyaltsen is so special. And on the Sokshing, all the way down, it has actually the structure of our body, if you like, and the chakras of the body, speech, mind, qualities, activity, and there's a colour to represent each, because otherwise we can't represent them because they don't have form really. So that's white, red, blue, yellow, green. It's been wrapped around with silk and ribbons, and at that time we wrapped in all these very special relics. Some we have, those of you who know the Kagyu lineage will know of Mapa, the teacher of Milarepa, the teacher of Gampopa, the teacher of the first Karmapa, second, third Karmapa. Some of these teachers, we've already been studying the texts associated with them, so when you hear the name you think, oh yes, we sing the songs of Milarepa, we do the prayer of the third Karmapa, we've been studying the text of Gampopa, and we have a relic from each of those there. Now the relic could be of various kinds. It could be a piece of their robe or some item that belonged to them. It could be some part of their body, like the ash when they were burnt, or the bone or something like that. Or it could be little hard round things that turn up in the bones of saints when they're cremated. They're considered very special. So we have got actually selection of those sort of. I've written a whole list of this, which you can get from the website, but I've named only a few. As I already mentioned a few before, we've also got these relics. A lot of them were collected by Khenpo Namgyal, who's from the Lekshe Ling, the monastery of the Lama, over many years. And he has even one relic of Sri Singha, who's a teacher of Guru Rinpoche himself, so it goes way back. And you're talking about what? That's getting on for 2,000 years, isn't it, Sri Singha? And actually there is a relic supposed to be from Shakyamuni Buddha himself, spontaneously manifesting, miraculously manifesting. So I can't say I really understand how this works, but somehow I find it very inspiring to feel that we're part of the mandalas of these great beings, and it's all here in this place. You see in other traditions, they're taking the relics out and marching them around the city once a year or something, and really drawing attention to the fact that this is something very special. And it feels it, and it has again that idea of the burial mound, the great being that is placed in a special receptacle or mound and that has a lot of symbolism of its own. And then the idea that if it's an enlightened being, then you get this spire of light emerging from it that tells you, oh, this was an enlightened being. So it's more elaborate than just a mound. And the actual tree of life itself is taken from a tree. Khenpo Namgyal went to a special trip. He went to get the wood to make the tree of life in there, which is juniper from near the cave of Milarepa in Yomo in Nepal. So he made a special trip to get it, and we hollowed it out to put in the golden stupa. So there are some shavings for people who sort of really appreciate that kind of thing. It's we'll be able to put that in other Buddha images and things. So what have I not talked about? There's so much that you can talk about. Well, one of the things I didn't say about the base, when he was doing the base, he was emphasizing that this was in order to pacify the elements, so that we didn't get extremes of the elements. So they'll be nicely in balance, so that when you're doing a consecration, you get a very strong downpour of rain, or a totally clear sky. And in fact, when we were setting up the Sokshing itself, the Tree of Life, we had the most amazing rainbow appear. It was really quite spectacular. So I thought, well, after that rainbow, I thought, I don't mind what the weather does. Last point I wanted to talk to you, a couple of points, was Lama Punsok himself, and what a remarkable person he is. He's been telling us about his childhood at lunchtime, talking about he comes from a very poor family in Nepal, where they didn't have anything when he was young. Running water, forget it. Torches, forget it. Candles, forget it. You just had if you wanted to learn at night, you had to sit by a hot fire. And they make the fire up very hot so you can read by the light of the fire. And if you fall asleep, you burn yourself. It was quite remarkable to think that he'd had such he says when he thinks of his childhood, he thinks it's like, was that this life or another life? Because in 50 years, he knows more about how to do Facebook and all these sending out messages than I can work out, and he's tremendously adapting all the time to the situation he finds himself in. And he's managed to, he first of all started by building a school for some young Nepali monks. Well, they're not monks obviously at that age, but they're training in a monastic situation. And in the last 22 years, they've grown up and now taken over a huge monastic and school, monastic college, building and institution. And he's actually, two of them, he's the headmaster of that, and the other one is the Tibetan teacher from there. So they're not just anybody. So they've come with him to help us to do this stupa, which is really amazing. And as if that wasn't enough, he's in his 60s. He thinks, no, I think I'll build a big school for the Nepali children, women, girls and boys. And he's got a piece of land about 2 hours away from his monastery, and he's now setting up, building this complex. He wants, he's just doing the plans, raising the money for it. I mean, such big vision. And he wants education to be for both the secular and monastic, because obviously if you take children in very young to a monastic situation, they're not all going to want to be monks for the rest of their life. So he wants to be able to give them a good start, and then they can go into the world. And of course in Nepal, the Buddhist population have had a very hard time, because the government has really not done the opposite of favouring the Buddhist tribes, because the Buddhist tribes are the ones that are connected to Tibet. The boundary along the Himalayas is obviously a Western invention, isn't it? So those valleys they were all Tibetan kinds of people, and now they're Nepali, but they're having quite a tough time. So they have to really help themselves. So I really hope I can inspire you to want to help them, be generous in your donations for them, and we'll keep a connection and carry on trying to help them. So that's that bit that I wanted to get in. And Rixing Shikpo rang me at 7:15 this morning, saying they were just setting off and they would be here at 10:30, and I thought, I rather hope not. That's speed. So any time now, and Rixing Shikpo had hoped to be here earlier in the week, but he hasn't been very well, so I don't know how he'll be when he arrives, but he'll probably have to sneak in when the monks are already, but we're already doing their chanting, but we're hoping very much that later on today he will be able to at least say a few words, and then maybe this evening, if he's well enough, he'll give us teaching, so that's an extra bonus there. So the actual consecration ceremony itself, the monks, they've already done half of it this morning. When it was raining, they really wanted to do it in the rain. So I'm joking. So they did that part of the ritual, and they've saved the second half for when everybody's here, because I thought anyway, it's a long time to sit if it's more than 2 hours sitting and then me talking, it gets very long. So he said, no, we can do it in 2 halves. And so what he's going to do the second half of the ceremony. I'm not entirely sure what it consists of, but the last part of it is where he unveils the image that's in the front of the stupa. Now, generally speaking, in an enlightenment stupa, this style of stupa is called a stupa that's commemorating the enlightenment of the Buddha. So you could think, well, then it would have the Buddha in it, sort of the Buddha Shakyamuni. But actually, when I asked Khenpo Rinpoche what image to put in the stupa, he said, put the compassionate one, either Avalokiteshvara or Tara. And I chose Tara. So actually, we have a Tara image there, which is not different from Shakyamuni. If you're a Mahayanist, you know that the Buddha can appear in any form, and I think it's a good time for the Buddha to appear in the female form. I think it's timely. It feels right. It feels right in this place, and it feels right because Khenpo Rinpoche's got Tara in his stupa there in Nepal. So we stuck with Tara, and we've got actually a picture of Tara for you all. And so when he's blessing the Tara, your picture will be blessed, and then you can all have a picture that's been blessed at the same time as the image. It is the same Tara. It's taken by
Jamie.
Yes, Jamie. Sorry. So that will be that part of it, and then part of that ceremony is that we make lots of offerings of food and beautiful flowers and anything beautiful that we can think of. And there'll be lots of tossing of rice and mixed with flowers, which is exactly the same as we do at weddings, It is the same idea of auspiciousness and abundance and celebration. So, and then the food will be offered.